Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and it's time again for Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, with me, Herbert Erpaderp. Before I get to the questions, I figure I might as well mention that a new group build on my Discord server has begun. I'm sure a lot of you saw the video about that, showing the entries from the previous group build, but in case you haven't, there's a link in the description and in the upper right corner now. The topic for the current group build is prototypes, which I think is pretty cool, and I will be building this Hobbyboss VK4502P. So if that kind of thing interests you, head on over to the Discord and join in. Everybody is welcome. And now, question time. TM Gamer said, will you ever do a subscriber incorporated video where anyone can join the Discord and chat and you do a live stream with everyone? Not to immediately shoot the idea down, but having everybody get in the voice chat sounds like an awful idea to me. Not that I imagine there would be hundreds of people or anything like that, but I can imagine all the people talking all at once and it hurts my brain just to think about it. There's a reason for when I have my friends on stream to play we use a private room on Discord. I find it incredibly hard to focus on what anybody is saying when there's more than one voice or a noisy environment. It's actually quite frustrating. Also, it sounds too chaotic to try and manage, even if I enforced push to talk to avoid a bunch of open mics. There's bound to be one person who would find it hilarious to play garbage music or scream into their mic or spout racist shit thinking they're edgy and funny, so it probably wouldn't be much fun for me, and if it's not fun, I don't really see much point. I mean, all of that isn't an absolute certainty, of course. I'm sure most people who would participate would be fine, it just doesn't seem like it's worth the risk to me. And there's still the fact that I can't very well deal with a bunch of people talking over each other. Someone actually suggested something similar with patrons only, and I think that seems like more of a good idea. Plus it gives some more value to patrons, which I'm all for. There would be a smaller pool of people there too, and it wouldn't be everybody at once. Also, I'm not sure what game we would play, but I think it's a good idea. If you're a patron and have a game that would be fun to play and would make a good stream, go ahead and make a suggestion. If you wanted to play something like World of Tanks, you would have to be on the same server that I'm on, of course, so there's things like that to consider. It just means we would have to do a bit of planning. Poster Gestapo said, what do you think about making the miniature section of Ask a Herbert Erpaderp a bit shorter, as it usually takes like half of the video, and put something else there? I've seen some dope tanks drawings in the art section. It would go well with the overall military theme of your videos. That's actually a pretty good idea. From the last one I decided I would be a bit more ruthless in deciding which pictures to leave out. I've done that this fortnight and the miniatures section should be a little bit shorter. I mean, I haven't recorded it yet, but it's only a couple of pages of notes, so it shouldn't be too long. Also, you'll see that I've added a small section to share some of the art that's being posted in Discord too, because there really is some excellent stuff being shared, and I want more people to see it. Art is rad. Penfoldo7 said, have you thought about having an About Members section on Discord where people could introduce themselves and a little about them? That's also a pretty good idea. I like that, and I've seen something like that on other servers too. I've made a note to myself to make that change. Hopefully I'll get onto it while rendering this video, so by the time you see this it should be functioning. Hopefully. Thanks for the idea. Duncanuva said, will we see a return of the mighty Derptopia vids? You know, I think I might do a final Derptopia 2 video. I'm thinking I might get the Disasters DLC or whatever it's called. I haven't really felt the urge to play for a long time, but maybe I should. Actually, it might make a good streaming game. That could be fun. But I think maybe I should start a new city for that. Maybe Derptopia 3? Just to be creative and original? Shermanaholic said, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me, no more. Eastern Union said, is love a human construct to fill a void? I think that's a pretty cynical and maybe unhelpful way to look at it. I think it's more a word to define a chemical reaction in the brain caused by a stimulus. That could be a person, a pet, or something that makes you really happy. I mean, that's pretty much what any emotion is really, a chemical reaction. That's not to say it's not a real thing though. Pax Britannica said, what's it like being Australian? Is everyone upside down over there? Do you get to go a waltzing Matilda very often? Is killing yourself because you were caught stealing jumbucks a common practice over there? Is it true that you can hear the ghost of that swagman as you pass by that billabong? I don't really have a basis for comparison other than assumptions, but I would say that being Australian has been pretty good so far, though from our perspective everybody else is upside down, except New Zealanders, they're not really upside down. I don't think I've ever been waltzing Matilda, that's more of an old school thing, but it is very common for jumbuck thieves to commit suicide when they're caught. It's one of our most bootable offences. And you can definitely hear that swagman's ghost if you go anywhere near that billabong. Most people stay away from it because he's a bit of a dick. Sneaky Zaku said, "After today I had a rather nasty headache, stuck in my head for a while, and it got me thinking, what's your way of getting over a headache? I tend to listen to some calm music and watch my fish tank nowadays, but any remedies to share?" I don't really have any remedies as such, as in things to make or take. My first step is usually to drink a bunch of water because it often means that I'm dehydrated. If it's really bad, I take drugs for it, though I normally try to avoid that. Really, I guess it depends on what's causing the headache. If I can, I eliminate that cause. I also find it helpful to lay down and have it be very quiet if possible. I don't really have anything better than that. Another one from Sneaky Zaku. "You have a substantial tabletop collection of 15mm now. Have you ever considered using your 15mm tanks and so forth for Bolt Action's Tank War? Keeping the measurements and everything, just changing the scale of the models themselves. Heck, it might even be a bit more accurate to the actual range of some of these tanks. Ruler to tank size, I mean." I have actually thought about doing something like that at some point. It would be pretty cool for big games and it should allow for a lot of fun maneuvering and such. That might be worth playing with Barnaby or something because I think it would take a lot of time to do by myself. I'm thinking of doing smaller games for solo play though, because that's just quicker and easier to do, really. I do have a solo tank war game planned, but I just gotta find time to actually play it. It's definitely an idea worth thinking about a bit more though. Eastern Union said, "What is the best form of holy water?" I have no idea. I mean, I've never seen water with holes in it, and I'm kind of doubtful that's even a thing. Penfold07 said, "Since 28mm kits are larger than 1/72nd but have less detail, what attracts you to this scale?" I think the less detail thing isn't always accurate, but the main thing is it fits in with the rest of my wargaming stuff, and that's the scale that the games I want to play are usually played in. I'm not really interested in not only replacing my own models with another scale, but also trying to convince anybody that I might play against to do the same. I'm also not interested in playing with the people who get all bent out of shape over precise scale and detail in gaming models too. They're usually the ones that think everybody should play Bolt Action in 1/48th though. There's also the fact that more detailed models likely means more damaged models when you play a game with them. Also, since I'm into wargames, I really enjoy checking out the models available for wargames, and building up big forces so that I can be as flexible with my army lists as I can. Australian Train Nut said, "Am I a Wehraboo? Is it pronounced like that? Is it Wehraboo or Wehraboo like the Wehrmacht? I don't know you. But I guess if you're constantly talking about how great and perfect the Wehrmacht was, even in the face of contradicting evidence like them losing the war, and blaming everyone else for the Wehrmacht's failures, then you probably are. If you just think German tanks are cool or whatever, that's not really what a Wehraboo is." Top Bunk Productions said, "What computer do you use to run World of Tanks? Is it an expensive one?" I wouldn't say it was overly expensive, though I don't remember exactly how much I paid for everything. It's got an i7-6700K, some sort of suitable motherboard, water cooling, a GTX 1060 because I couldn't justify the cost of something better, though I am thinking of upgrading that graphics card at some point soon because GPUs are coming down in price. It's nothing fancy really, but it was still fairly costly, at least for somebody like me without a ton of money. That said, it was never designed as a gaming-specific machine, that's just a side effect. I built it mostly to make videos. Harry Robinson 1969 said, "This isn't really a question, but I just wanted to say that there is a great little community revolving around your YouTube channel and Discord server. School is getting harder at the moment, and when I get home it's great to see a new video or something nice on the Discord server. P.S. Do you know anything about Warlord's game Test of Honor? I'm thinking of getting the starter pack." I agree. It makes me happy when I see people having discussions and getting along in the Discord and stuff. I like that I can be pretty hands-off and light with the moderation and things stay fairly positive and decent. I rarely have to remove anything shitty, which is nice. It's also really cool that there are so many talented people in there. Unfortunately, on occasion there are some shitty things that happen. I guess that's bound to happen as numbers increase, but it seems like I'm going to have to start wielding the banhammer a bit more in future. Also, I'm pretty sure that I've heard of Test of Honor. It's a samurai game, I think. I'm not super interested in the samurai though, so it doesn't really have a lot of appeal to me. But it's made by Warlord, so it's probably okay. John Tell, with a different name, said, "Do you even know how big railway rolling stock actually is? Even 4 planks is tall." This reads as though I'm being accused of having suggested that trains are small, but I can't remember ever doing that and I don't think I would. I mean, obviously trains, even the narrow gauge ones here, are pretty big. I'm pretty sure most people are well aware that trains are very big, though it kind of makes me wonder how many people could there be that have never been on a train, or at least seen one at a level crossing or something. Postapo Gestapo said, if you had a chance to start a completely new life on every place on Earth, which continent or country would you choose? That's a pretty tricky one. I think I might choose Canada. It's always seemed like a pretty cool place to me, and I speak the language, except the French language, I guess. The people seem friendly enough and I'm not likely to get shot. Though if I do get shot I won't go into massive debt being treated for bullet wounds. There are so many interesting places to choose from though. I'm too tired to think of a better answer than Canada. Burner581 said, if you could take any tank design except the KV-2 and turn it into a battering ram, what would you take? Well, I guess you would want something relatively fast, so it probably shouldn't be a heavy tank. And it would be good to have some weight behind it, so a fast light tank is probably not the best idea either. Those are for doing jumps anyway. Maybe something like a T-34 hull. I think that could probably take the jarring shock of ramming things and keep going, or at least be easy to fix. Flying Scanion said, do you have any interest in any parts of history before the tank was invented? If so, any particular parts? I do, but more of in a general interest way. I think sailing ships are pretty interesting and railways as well, and both of those were around well before tanks. So I guess I don't have any major interests, though I do really enjoy learning about pretty much any period of history. Recently, a friend and I went to the museum and looked at a bunch of ancient Egyptian stuff. That was really interesting and cool. Penfold07 said, since they are both the same scale, why not replace the crap Airfix Tiger with the Airfix Tiger 2 that you already built, and continue with your Cromwell diorama? I mean, the Tiger 1 being poor quality is only part of the issue. I just don't really feel like making a diorama. Maybe one day I'll get the urge and then I think using the Tiger 2 would actually be a pretty good idea. Ratto said, what's your typical breakfast? I often like to have fruit, usually oranges or mandarins, but sometimes toast is nice too. I'm a bad egg though, I don't usually feel hungry when I wake up so I don't often have breakfast. Though I guess technically I do, because I do eventually eat, but you know what I mean. Probably don't take dietary advice from me. On the previous Ask a Herbert Erpaderp video, RedGreen09 said, have you ever tried apple chips? Because I've got diabetes too. Also, think that found a snack that has a lot of junk in it. You buy them or make them. The only thing that should be in the bag is apple. That's it. No oil, grease or sugar. Some might have cinnamon. That's good for diabetes. That's if you like it. Well, not a modelling thing, but a good snack. I haven't actually tried apple chips recently. I did try them as a kid, and I don't remember being super crazy for them, but maybe they're good with cinnamon. I'll have to try some next time I go shopping. Some people actually think cinnamon cures diabetes. It doesn't, but it is still good for you. It's a good source of manganese, which helps blood sugar regulation and metabolism. It's also necessary for brain and nerve function. Also, it's toxic. At least when you have too much, though I guess that's the same for a lot of things really. I just find it kind of amusing that an essential element is also toxic. No problem that apple chips aren't models. Not everything has to be about models. Thanks for the suggestion. Andrew Noonan said, the new maps in World of Tanks have gone live. I actually saw that the other night when I streamed. I was very surprised that both Minsk and Studs Yankee, however you say that, showed up in the hour or so that I played. My experience has always been that the new maps are super rare in the rotation for some reason. That said, I barely got to see any of them because not only do I just plain suck at tanks, but I was in a light tank at the time, making it much easier to kill me. What I did manage to see was pretty good looking though. I do hope to see them more often so I can find all the good jumps. ML Scale Modelling said, you should go ahead and build Airfix's new tooled Cromwell 4 tank, or the Spitfire Mark 1, a new tooling. Look up videos on them, you will like them. As I believe someone else commented, I have built the Cromwell a while ago, unless there's a newer one that I don't know about. And to be fair, it was a very good model. I don't know about that Spitfire, but I did see a video about the new Wellington bomber, and I thought that looked pretty good too. The trouble with Airfix is that it's not readily obvious based on the box if the kit is a new tooling or not. I don't usually order anything but wargaming kits online, and most of my non-wargaming purchases are impulse buys, which obviously increases the risk of getting something old from Airfix. Before anyone suggests, I'm really not interested in standing around dicking about on my phone in the shop while trying to figure it out. I'm an in and out shopping kind of guy. At any rate, I have way too many kits taking up space needing to be built as it is, so I'm trying not to buy anything new until I get a lot more of those built. BananaBro191 said, "How many models do you have? And hey, can you make a battleship model building please?" I have no idea how many models I have. Enough that it would be a pain in the ass to get them all out and count them. It would have to be over 300 I would imagine, though to be fair that would include things like single bolt action infantry figures and things like that. If I cared enough I guess I could count them, but that doesn't really sound like a productive use of time. Also, I do have a couple of ships that I will build eventually, but not immediately. Patrons have already chosen which of those ships I will build first, and I'll probably start before the end of the year. As a side note, you don't need to repeat the same question on multiple videos, especially if it's for a specific kit. It would be irresponsible of me if I went and bought every kit that everybody suggested. And that's it for the question portion of Ask a Herbert Erpaderp. Let's have a look at some of the models that have been shared on the Discord server in the last couple of weeks. First, Panzerkampfwagen 3 Ausführung J shared their T-3485, which has been worked on quite a bit since the previous picture I showed. Mud has been added and the white stripe has been made to look more hand-painted. Very effectively too, I must say. It's a very nice looking T-3485. Also, here's a Plastic Soldier Company Marder 3 that Panzer built a while ago. Looks like it's ready to go out and do some murdering. Ducking Tanker shared some of their Space Marines, noting that the center one is still a work in progress. I always find it kind of entertaining that these guys have seals and feathers and stuff on them. Also, they're very nicely painted. Here's Ducking Tanker's first Free French Soldier. That's some nice work. Should look great fighting alongside that Sherman you shared before. Yeah, that's the one. Great work. How are you planning to base the figures? Hugo the Panzer Builder shared an old CV9040B that they repainted. That's a really catchy name, but I wonder if it's got a different name as well. Like, Fighty Man. Okay, I got nothing. The model looks rather nice and I like the Swedish flag hanging off the antenna too, that adds a lot. Hugo also shared this really nice looking E100. I quite like the missing skirting and the dirty looking red primer underneath. The infrared gear looks pretty interesting too. This looks like a really nicely built model and it's clearly been painted very well. The splatters of mud are very good. Shermanaholic proves he just can't live without Shermanahol by sharing this delightful work-in-progress M4A1 Wet 76. I'm assuming the wet means it's got wet ammo storage and not that it's wet in some other way. Looking very good so far. Here's another Sherman, this time from the Chieftain. This is the Warlord model and it's quite nicely painted, I'm sure you'll agree. The logs that have been added to the side are really eye-catching. They look great. I can only imagine that they're sticks that have been chopped up to look like roughly cut logs. Very convincing. I rather like seeing things that people add to their tanks to make them stand out. Ratto shared his first Gundam. Not knowing a whole lot about the Gundams, I can't identify this one, but apparently it has 4 arms for extra shooty fun times, and also for grabbing enemies to do injury to them, and presumably for holding extra beer. Looks like a pretty neat model. Ratto also shared these Spider Boys. These look pretty good and I really enjoy the shots with the itty bitty men running away in terror. Ha ha ha, run coward! Also, this was captioned, Typical Day in Australia. And as someone mentioned, we don't use this particular vehicle in Australia, which is true, but the spiders are pretty accurate. I vaguely recall mentioning last time that I very rarely see spiders, but the other day I saw a really big one in the bathroom, so I took a picture of it. And it's on my Instagram account if anybody wants to check it out. Spiders are cool. The Tourette's Gamer shared this Warlord Firefly, saying it was painted a year ago, but not to the Tourette's Gamer's satisfaction, so it's been repainted and that's what we're seeing here. I think it's pretty decent, though if it were mine I would probably tone down the shiny metallic parts just a touch, but it's good work. And here's an Achilles 2C. This is a 28mm scale model by Rubicon. I think it's pretty cool. The only problem I can see is the gap in the back of the turret, otherwise it's great. I really like the tally marks on the side of the turret. That's a very nice touch. Sneaky Zaku has successfully completed this AC guy. AC guy? I don't know. Sneaky used an airbrush and a colour that suits its adorableness. It looks like a short, stumpy little guy, and I'm not quite sure I agree that it's adorable, but the face is kind of interesting and it is very nicely done. Also, I rather like the colour. Sneaky also shared some pictures of the Russian tanks from the new Stalingrad box set for Flames of War. If you ask me, these look quite good, and I'm even more keen to get my hands on them myself now. They're also nicely painted, except the Valentine, mostly because it's not painted. Top Bunk Productions shared this T-80BV. The side skirts are attached and construction is now complete. The crewman is temporarily blue-tacked into place, and the things on the fuel tanks are T-34 bits used to hide the gaps in the ends of the drums. Top Bunk says he plans to depict this in a World War III-like scenario, which sounds pretty interesting to me. His stabby mans are also coming along greatly, and he's pleased with how the Chi-Ro looks on the shields, noting that that's the PX symbol for those wondering. I agree, I think it looks really good. Sonny Deasy removed all that stowage from his Sherman that was shared last fortnight. I guess it was a bit excessive, though I did rather enjoy the thought of a kleptomaniac crew cruising around in their tank just taking anything they could find. Here's a couple of pictures of Sonny Deasy's collection of bolt-action tanks. Also some non-tanks, because half-tracks aren't tanks. Good stuff. Is the Planet Express ship counted in this collection too? Jihad Teppo shared this destroyed T-34 that he's working on for a group build on a different Discord server. This is really nice work. It's got some very convincing rust, and I'm not sure if some of that green stuff on the rear is meant to represent mold and moss from the swamp it's in, but it does look like it. Very cool. Duncan Hoover shared this picture of his super realistic and sensible purple Iron Duke, obtained from secret documents. That's a really nice shade of purple. Excellent. Penfold07 built his very first Plastic Soldier Company model. This ain't rad. It looks pretty decent, and I'm quite pleased by that. I just got a box of these the other day. That said, I'm not really surprised. The Plastic Soldier Company are pretty consistently good. Eastern Union shared this mini-art Soviet infantryman. There was a comment saying that cool Gopniks don't look at explosions, and this guy does kind of look like he might be walking away from an explosion that he's just caused. Nicely done. John Hell shared his attempt at Russian. I can't read Russian, so the text would be illegible to me no matter how neatly it was painted. It does capture the rushed hand-painted look a Soviet tank would have though. Also, face. This is a very angry T-34-85. I really like that. There's also this very sensible stack of T-34. You see, triple the hull is make for triple protection. Crimson 1149 shared this giant stompy boy. This is a Warlord Titan, Manus Mortis of the Legio Mortis. It's all done except for a few highlights. This isn't really the kind of model I would buy for myself, but I do rather enjoy seeing them done. I like the shade of red you've chosen to use. Looks really cool. Pax Britannica shared this awesome, majestic fellow he painted as a commission a few years ago. This is really well done and must have taken quite a bit of time. Very cool. I also totally get your sentiments in regard to doing commission painting. You have to really want to do it in order to not burn out. Pax also shared this Dreadnought, which is for a 30k era Imperial Fists army. Apparently this guy was named Uncle Smashfucker, which seems like quite an appropriate name. I'm amused by it anyway. Kliment Voroshilov shared this excellent Stug with sandbags. This is very nice and neatly painted. KV says they're pretty new to models and it's their first try at sandbags. I think that's a really good result for a first try. They're quite convincing, though they probably could do with a bit of weathering. Great work, keep it up. And that's it for the models this fortnight. I've been a bit more ruthless in omitting some of the pictures this time, so if your picture wasn't shown, it's nothing personal, so please don't feel discouraged. If you want to see everything that gets posted, you'll have to join the Discord. Have a look around, see the pictures, take part in the discussions, it'll be fun. There's a link in the description. Like I mentioned before, there's been some really cool artwork shared in the Arts and Crafts channel on Discord too, so I figured it would be cool to share some of those, and I think I'll make that a regular part of Ask a Herbert Erpaderp going forward. I didn't go back too far, but here's a few examples of some of the art that's been shared. Top Bunk posted some old drawings from last year. I quite like the tiger on the battlefield getting ready to shoot at what appears to be a T-34. The other pictures are cool too. You draw a lot better than I do. Top Bunk has also been working on colorizing some frames from old Commando comics. This is the page he's been working on. It's not finished yet, but so far it's very nice work. Marble shared a work-in-progress drawing of a Leopard 2. This is very neat, and I look forward to seeing it completed. Eastern Union shared some drawings of the IJN Yamato, which is quite nice. As is this Churchill Black Prince. It was posted upside down, but I've used my fancy powers to make it the right way up. Grand Dodo Wizard shared this excellent sketch of a KV2. Who doesn't like a KV2? Nice job. Poster Poker Starpo shared something a bit different. Burbs. These are really nice. Burbs are cool. I really like the colours you've used here. And here's a toucan. I really like how you've done the beak on this guy. Post also did this drawing of a BF-109 pilot. Like I commented, it entertains me thinking that he's patting the side of the cockpit and saying, "Do you want to come for a ride?" Pretty cool. I Don't Need Help Anymore shared this sketch of the shooty part of a ship. This being called a sketch kind of sells it short though. It's very well done. And that shall draw this fortnight's Ask a Herbert Erp to a close. It still ended up being fairly lengthy, but at least it's shorter than last time. Thank you to everyone who asked a question, and an extra thank you to those who shared modelling work and also their art. It's very appreciated and inspiring. As always, questions you'd like an answer to can go in the comment section below or on Discord. And if you haven't already, why not sub here on YouTube, join our community on Discord, follow me on social media, or watch me stream on Twitch. And if you really like what I do, please consider supporting over on Patreon or perhaps by purchasing a shirt or mug from my merch store. Links to all of those things are in the description below. As always, I shall return soon, so until then, be excellent to each other and thanks for watching. Farewell.